stuck in life, you should aspire for more. Connect with others who desire to aspire for more. Reach for your goals. When you do, you allow yourself to aspire for more. Dr. Tammy is here to help you aspire for more. Aspire for more.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Journey Toward More, a podcast where we discuss topics to help you manifest more. More of what is for you, more of what you desire, more of what is aligned with who you are, and more of what honors you on your journey toward more. I am your host, Dr. Tammy, the Catalyst, Strategist, Educator, Consultant, author, speaker. I am here to help you on your journey toward more, while also sharing mine. I believe in a holistic approach to learning and development and helping you leverage the opportunities of the future, the now. I help you create a strategy to assist in your transition and growth. And so this podcast, we like to do some of the mindset work and some of the pre-work before we get into the actual strategy. And so today, I'd like to do just that again. Before we get started, make sure that you go up to the top or the bottom, whatever platform you're on, and make sure you follow this podcast so you'll get notifications of when we post a new episode. So as you're driving, as you're cleaning, as you're working, you can listen to another episode or a previous episode. There are previous episodes I encourage you to check out. And you can always go to my Linktree / Dr. Tammy Francis is in the show notes in the description below, to connect with me, to learn more about anything that I mention in my podcast and or access my calendar. So thank you all for being here on this episode. And today I want to talk about this season. And probably more of season in general, but I want you, as I'm talking, as we're in this conversation, think about this season. What is this season for you? And so I think everything that I do, if you look in my materials, if you've been following me a while, you'll see that I like the metaphor of seasons. I have my mastermind group, which you can join. It's quarterly. There are opportunities to join that if you want a more intensive experience in a small group with me, where we spend a good 8 weeks together, plus a few more, to create strategy around what's next for us. But those masterminds, I always think of them as seasons. I think of each cohort as a season, because some people have joined several seasons because they're at a different season in their life. And so I want to make sure that, this is a good year. It's beginning of the year. And when this is recorded, and I think it's a good time at any time to think about the season, your season of life. I have Reap More, 76 Seeds for this season. I have that book where I talk about seeds for this season. And I was going through a winter when those quotes came to me. And so let's just talk about it. When you think about seasons are this period of time of the year that's distinguished by special climate conditions. You can kind of tell it by the weather, what's happening. In a year, we have spring, summer, fall, winter, and each has its own light, its own temperature, and weather patterns. And they repeat it. It happens every year, regularly. We even have other things that we refer to as seasons, like flu season or the holiday season. Those things happen regularly, and they are defined by the conditions. If I had to put, if we think of the spring, summer, fall, winter seasons, and many of us around the world, we probably experience some of those. And if you're in a tropical climate, maybe not, but for many of us, we experience some form of those seasons, those 4 seasons. And I must say, last year, 2023, was probably winter for me. I would describe the end of 2022 into most of 2023 as winter. There was threats of illness and long-term illness. There was sickness, car accidents, disappointment, all those things happened in 2023. It was a year to really think about what really supports me, who really supports me, who's really there when things are a bit overwhelming, at some points a bit confusing, and a bit devastating. But when I think about 2023, I also know that it wasn't all bad. There was so much good that happens. There were so many things that I didn't expect that came my way. Opportunities, what we like to call as blessings. All of those things happened in 2023. Like in not little things, but big things. So there were things that were really big that we would sometimes label as bad. But there were also so many things that were huge. And one day I'll tell it all. But I want to stay focused for this episode. That were huge, that were good. And depending on how close you were to me, you may not have known it was a winter. You may have thought it was summer, and all I have is summer and spring in my life. When I think about these seasons, this season of life, seasons are like climates that are affected by climate conditions or weather changes, like the seasons of the year. I equate winter as a time of sadness, heartbreak, loneliness, sickness. Spring, hope, new beginnings, opportunities. Summer, signs of growth, need for protection, like sunscreen, and an abundance of distractions. There's so much going on. There's so much you can do. You may have more time to do some things. And so summer and fall. Fall, the successes and achievements, but also the failures is kind of both of those. And so fall is kind of a mix of winter and spring and summer, in the way that it feels to us. But when I think about special climate conditions, which determine the seasons that we talk about when we're talking about the weather, the real weather, and I'm not doing this metaphor. You got to think some of the climate conditions or the elements that affect it is temperature, average temperature, the amount of sunshine during those time periods, maybe wind speed and direction, maybe the number of days above freezing or below freezing, weather extremes even, and those natural disasters that happen, and the local geography are all influences into how we term or call the seasons. Because if you know anything about being around the world, like there's different, the seasons are at different times of the year depending on where you are. Like in the United States, our summer is typically from June to early September. And so that's our summer. But for others, it's cooler during those times. So it varies depending on your geography. You know, whether you have a tropical climate where it's hot and humid, or it's dry, or it's temperate where it's warm and humid. There may be some thunderstorms. It's continental and maybe warm and cool summer, warm to cool summers, maybe cold winters, snowstorms even, or it could be polar, right? It could be where it's extremely cold even in the summer. You have long, dark winters, right? Or it could be a desert, hot and dry. But no matter the climate conditions or the climate, that's what determines the season. So as we're thinking about this metaphor and we're going through this, I have lots of questions today. So disclaimer, I have lots of questions. So first thing on the list, let's grab our notebook, grab your computer, your laptop, wherever. So pause this if it's not near you and go get it if you can't. If you can't go get it because you're driving or doing something where you can't write at the moment, save this podcast and come back to it, because I have lots of questions, and these questions will inform how you proceed, how you handle this season. And we know when we're talking about seasons, we're talking about the weather conditions. We're also talking about the climate, what type of climate it is, which is determined by the elements or the climate conditions or weather conditions. And so I want you to think about this as it relates to your life. And I went through the 4 seasons and what they represent for me. And you may add some words to that, but generally that's how I'm approaching this particular podcast, is based on seasons like that. Like winter is sadness and heartbreak and loneliness and sickness, whereas spring is hope and new beginnings. Summer is signs of growth, or where you need protection, you need good people and situations around you. You may be really distracted. Have a lot of distractions going on, things that outside of you that you may not be able to control or control. And fall is a mix of successes and achievements and failures. So what season are you in? Which one are you in? Which elements or climate conditions are affecting you, are affecting your life? You know, it's really time for us to take a life assessment and think about the season. I think if you acknowledge and admit what season you're in, it's easier to handle it. So I was abruptly, unexpectedly thrown into winter in around September, early October 2022. And it lasted a very long time because it was affected by extreme changes. And if we think about it, extreme weather changes in my life. And it disrupted everything. And I was flung into that. And in that moment, the things that I'm going to invite you to think about are the things I had to hold on to. I had to ask myself the hard questions. I had to address the things that I didn't want to address in order for me to get through it with confidence and grace. And I invite you to really, no matter if it's a time when it's maybe you're in a winter and it's not the best time of your life right now. Maybe something tragic has happened or something unexpected has come your way. It helps you through it if you acknowledge it and you know what is and you're really honest about that, because then you can move forward. So what season is this? This season, right now, this moment, this month, these few months, maybe your season has lasted, seasons typically last 3 months. But when we're dealing with life, sometimes those things last a little longer than that, or maybe a little less. But what season are you in? And which elements or climate conditions are affecting you, are affecting your life? Maybe have created this season for you. So let's talk about some of these elements. Temperature. You ready? You got your pen, your paper, or your device. If you want to do it electronically, that works too. So let's start with temperature. Are you not your normal self right now? Do you have more or less of an average day? And when I think about an average day, there's days that they're predictable. I kind of know what my Wednesday is like typically. I know the things that could change a Wednesday, but I'm prepared for it because I know these things are going to happen, or a Friday or a Monday. So I kind of know that. But when you're going through something, sometimes it's so unpredictable, it really throws you off your game. What does that look like to you? Get a temperature check. What's the temperature? What's your temperature? Is it hot? Is it cold? Or are you always angry and upset right now? Or are you cold? Or are you withdrawn? Or are you away from people? Or are you warm? It's a time when you are embracing everyone. You want to love on everyone. You want to show your appreciation for everyone. Check your temperature. What's your temperature right now? Because that may determine your season and how you label the season. Sunshine. Sunshine. How many times did you smile today? Just to smile. Not a forced smile. Not because someone say you need to smile more. But just smile from pure joy. Or because something just made you smile. How many times did you receive a compliment? Give a compliment. How many times were you given a hug or told I love you today or lately? How much good is in your life right now? So when you look and you have to say this is good or this is bad, because that's typically how we label things when it comes to our day and our life. How much good is around? How much sunshine is in your life? The next one, number 3, is the wind. I think of wind as distractions, because when it's windy, that's typically where my hair blows and things happen, fall over, and I have to stop what I'm doing to fix something else. Let's just say it's a plant, right, that falls over. I have to pick it up and fix it, right? So what's throwing you off balance? What's pulling your attention from where you would like it to be? What's causing you to bend or sway? Maybe the decisions that you typically make, the decisions that or the things that you can typically make a decision quickly on, you're hesitant. Maybe you're not standing firm and creating those boundaries, right? You're bending. Maybe you're giving in and compromising more so. Have you changed your mode of operation when it comes to things like that? The next element that I want you to think about as it relates to this season of your life is weather extremes. What tragedy or unexpected has happened that is disrupting your flow, your life? Maybe there's something tragic or unexpected that has happened recently that really threw you off and it's made you stop and focus on that. What has pushed you out of your comfort zone? What are some of those weather extremes, those things that, man, you thought it was going to be one thing, but it was way worse, right? And I say worse because typically when we talk about weather extremes, it's not better. And then the last element I want you to think about and reflect on is your local geography. Where are you? Where are you going? Do you know? Do you have your bearings? Do you know what's around you? What is in your environment that's affecting your life right now? Whether it's positive or negative, what's in your life? And it could be a person, it could be a situation, it could be something. But what in your environment is affecting your life right now? This season. Looking at all of those, and I asked a lot of questions, and yes, I have more. But I'm going to leave you with something and some homework, right? So part of your homework is looking at each of those: temperature, sunshine, wind, weather extremes, local geography. Looking at all of those and really evaluating, where are you right now in your life? What's going on? Where would you like your focus versus where it is? Are you allowing any of these elements to keep you in a season too long or not long enough? See, some of these things can happen and change. It may be a windy day all of a sudden, and then you're distracted, and you had a deadline, you had something to do, and there was a windy day and distractions happened and it put you behind, right? Maybe it was a day where the temperature, where you just was off. You just didn't feel yourself. That can either keep you in a season too long or not long enough. We can dwell too long, which can be counterproductive, or we can move too soon, just before our breakthrough, because the elements or the weather conditions or the climate conditions disrupt our flow. I've seen it so many times where I've had clients who are working with me. We get down to the last few sessions and they disappear. They give up, they stop, they allow life to start lifing, and they stop right before the breakthrough, right before something changes in their favor. And sometimes you cannot stay in a place, in a season long enough, because you allow elements and climate conditions that are not characteristic of that season to throw things off. So when we're thinking about these, and you're thinking about all these things that I've said, and I had this whole weather metaphor, so I realized that that's something I like to do. Sorry, y'all. If this is your first time, I love metaphors, I love language, and I love to play on ideas. And so this one's big today. But I'd like for you to focus on 5 things to stay grounded in whatever season you're in. If it's winter, spring, summer, fall, no matter what that season is is to stay grounded, to stay focused, and really go through that season. Much of what we go through is about the process. It's not about the product. It's not about the end. It's about the process. That's where our growth happens. That's where the transition to our next happens. That's how we move in that direction of more, where something more is coming, where we allow more in our life. So these 5 things I'm going to leave you with. And, homework number 1 is to look at those 5 elements: temperature, sunshine, wind, weather extremes, and geography. And those questions that I asked you as it relates to those and your life. What does that look like for you? And are you allowing those elements to keep you in a season too long or not long enough? Whichever one it is it counterproductive? Is it keeping you from your breakthrough? Or is it guiding you in the right direction to your breakthrough? It could happen that way too. So that's number 1. Number 2, these are things you're going to do no matter which season you're in, no matter if it's summer or if it's winter, if it's spring or if it's fall. These are things you're going to do. But especially if you're in a winter. Number 1 is harmony. Harmony is in tune. It's when 2 things or whatever you're working with, whether it's your life and others, whether it's a situation in yourself, is when things go together well. And so when you're in a storm, in the midst of a storm, when you're in a season that's not necessarily favorable, you must look for agreement. What are those agreements? What are those things that are happening within you and around you? An agreement in your feelings, like you're feeling your heart and the sounds that you're hearing, and look and the feel, like to touch, or what you're smelling. Like when it comes to you, is there agreement within yourself? Is there peace? It's this idea that there's an agreement with your thoughts, your emotions, your values, your action. They all align. Harmony. I always think of harmony as a dance. I'm not one to talk about balance. I don't like that word at all when it comes to our life and living, because it's unrealistic to have balance. To balance means that everything is 50-50, and that's how we think of it. We don't necessarily think of balance as a give and take as we do of harmony. And we know, if you ever looked at a scale, something can be 50 pounds, something can be 100 and way heavier. It's not always equal, but one is give and take. But I prefer to say harmony. And it's this agreement, it's this dance, it's this working in harmony. Like you're finding those things that are in rhythm with where you are right now. Number 2 is honor you. Be sure to check in with yourself. All those questions I asked you today in this podcast is to have you check in with yourself. Check the weather conditions regularly. I was in an ice storm in Houston early in January. I went for my uncle's birthday party, and it was icing, and we were trying to get back home, which was about 3.5 hours away. And we knew in North Houston, it's always ice. And so we were trying to make our way, and we had to keep checking the weather app over and over and over. Check it regularly. You got to do the same thing for you. In order for you to honor yourself, for you to be true to who you are and what you're going through, you've got to check in with yourself. You've got to check the weather conditions. You've got to check that rain. You've got to check that precipitation. You've got to check the humidity. You got to check all of those things that we talked about. All the elements, temperature, wind, and local geography. You have to check all of those for yourself, so you can be true to yourself and where you are and really be honest with your current situation. Number 3, extend grace to yourself and others. Sometimes you just need a little grace to get through whatever you're getting through. Sometimes you need a little grace for others because they don't understand your summer. Maybe they don't understand your summer, and so you have to give them grace. Extend it for them. Number 4, shift your focus on what you love. Remember your vision and your goals. Stay focused and shift your focus, because sometimes the wind will come in and it'll be this distraction. And we have distractions. But stay focused. Stay on the path to what's next for you. And if you're having a difficult time, there's 45 episodes of this podcast, including this one at this point. And if you're listening to this in the future, there'll be many more. But there's past episodes at this point that you can go and listen to and help you on your journey. And number 5, check your feelings. Don't take things personally during this time. Any season of your life, you must adjust your expectations depending on the season. And it's not always about you that you're in that season. Sometimes it's others. And your ability to move through that season will inspire others and help others on their journey. So sometimes it's not always about you. And so don't take things personally when you're going through seasons. We all go through all of them. We know how the year works. Summer comes around once a year. Winter comes around once a year. And depending where you are, it may be multiple times. But the point is to find those affirmations, those reminders of the work, right? Of the work you need to do to make it. And so I offer you Read More. If you haven't gotten Read More, that book, it's a book of 76 quotes. It's commentary. There's also questions and room to write so you can reflect. You can use it as a journal for whatever season you're in. Remember, just because you're in a favorable season, maybe a season of opportunities, it doesn't mean there won't be challenges or bad moments or days, right? Those will still happen. Just because we're in a season doesn't mean it's perfect. So don't take that from this podcast episode. And just because you're in an unfavorable season, maybe you're in a winter, a season of sadness or disappointment or heartbreak, it doesn't mean there won't be good days and good moments. Find harmony, honor you, extend grace, shift your focus on what you love, and check in with your feelings. Make sure you're not taking things personally. And you'll reap more. You'll reap more. This season, what does that look like for you? Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening to this episode of Journey Toward More. I appreciate your support and you following this podcast. Please feel free to share it with others who may be in need of some inspiration and encouragement. There is mindset work here as well, but some may just get it for the pure encouragement that you're not alone. We all go through all these seasons and we'll get through it. One strategy, one day at a time. If you want to connect with my community, check in the description of the show notes. You'll see the link to my Telegram group. You can always join our Telegram community. That's where we share opportunities, we share announcements, we share updates, we share things that are going on in the world and on my schedule in case I'm in a city near you and you want to connect with me. You can always connect with me. Be sure you check out my link tree. or my website, drtammyfrancis.com, and connect with me. You can always request me as a speaker if you need a speaker for your event. I love to collaborate with you, and I love collaborating with others. Thank you so much. If you want me to share your product on my podcast or any of my social media, I do have opportunities for you to partner with me and for us to establish a way to do that and share what you're doing if you have, or your product or your service with the world. May 2024, we're going to Morocco. If you're interested in going to Morocco, check out my link tree. We're going May 13th to 19th. It's an all-inclusive retreat. It has everything included, including the flight from the United States, New York, to Morocco. So if you're not in that area, there may be extra costs accrued for that. But otherwise, your time with me, our workshops, our excursions, our sightseeing, our lodging, our meals, they're all included. So if you're interested, it's 1 week, 7 days, 6 nights, and it's at a beautiful property. If you go to the link, it'll take you to a page where you can learn more. You can see photos from the actual property where we'll be staying, Mwasi Healing and Restoration Center. And so they're in Marrakesh, Morocco. So I invite you to join us. There's some other things I have going on, speaking engagements, author events, all sorts of things. Stay connected with me. Follow me on social media at Dr. Tammy Francis. And or you can always follow Catalyst for Change Global, which is C4C with the number 1. And you can follow our community that way as well. Dr. Tammy Francis is my handle, and that's where I am everywhere, even on YouTube, even TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, all the platforms. So I look forward to connecting with you on one of those, on your favorite. And Facebook, I didn't say that, and Facebook too. Thank you for joining me for this episode, and we'll chat soon. Y'all have a great rest of your day, rest of your week, and remember, this year we're going to manifest more and we're going to reap more in 2024. Bye.
Stuck in life, you should aspire for more. Connect with others who desire to aspire for more. Reach for your goals. When you do, you allow yourself to aspire for more. Dr. Tammy is here to help you aspire for more. When you believe in yourself, anything is possible. Believe in yourself, you'll get more. You should aspire for more. Aspire for more. You should aspire for more. You should aspire for more. When you believe in yourself, anything is possible. Believe in yourself and get more. You should aspire for more.